and welcome to Festival Speaks. Today is Tuesday, October 11th, and this is episode 324. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Ravelry. Sorry, my teen is on fall break, and so they're moving around upstairs. I'm like distracted. I'm Amy Beth, also known as Pet Squirrel on Ravelry and the Pet SQRRL on Instagram. Hi, how are you? I need to amend that. I'm really not socially on Ravelry, but I am there, and that is who I am there. Okay, oh my gosh. So there's a gabillion things to talk about. It's been a long time since I podcasted. Thank you for being patient. I did do a fun thing for patrons. I did like a, I thought it was fun. And other people thought it was fun too, so hooray. I did like an embroidery book flip through together. A friend said that it was almost like we were on a date. And I was like, yeah, it would be like the best date ever. But I haven't done a regular podcast, so let's do one. I have a shameless amount of, I actually have a shameful amount of shameless self-promotion. I have a lot of shameless self-promotion. I have a good amount of knitting. I even have some spinning. I'm sorry. Yeah, so let's get into their shenanigans afoot. I might, oh yeah, there's lots going on. Okay, so first off, what should we do first? Okay, let's just do shameless self-promotion so I get out of the way. And I'll put a jump stamp. I'm going to start calling them jump stamps. I'm going to put a stamp so that you can jump ahead if you are not interested. There will be no quiz. So right now in the shop, I have a few bags because I didn't even tell you about the last update. And then I have another update coming and also a pre-order. Okay, so this is related but not totally related. So I've decided, I've been thinking about redoing our basement for a long time. Not redoing meaning it's a basement. It's like a dungeon basement at this time. It's a cinder block or concrete block walls. Our house was built in 1912, I think is the current consensus. It kind of goes back and forth depending on who we're talking to. They think 1912. So, but it is actually like almost our full downstairs basement or full downstairs footprint. We would lose a little bit because there's also some systems down there that kind of take away, but basically we would kind of get at least half again, our downstairs footprint, which would be kind of amazing. But the reason it would be kind of amazing is it would be really amazing to be able to move the shop down there, because it just would be. For a long time I was like, oh, I don't want to work down there. It's dark and like there's no good light. I mean, I was like, oh, I don't think that'll work. But like as we go further and further on and like the house just feels more and more chaotic, I think it could be absolutely amazing to be able to like shut a door on sewing work and also to have just like the chaos of like fabrics and bags in progress and like have that downstairs, have like a place set up that I can actually have podcasting from, either, maybe not this setup, but like if nothing else, just have a place I could do Zooms where I could like close the door and start doing more of those, because talking to folks at the wool gathering made me really feel, if you hear a weird noise, it's Gus chewing on his chewy thing. So FYI. Talking to folks at Young's Dairy at the wool gathering really kind of reinforced that lots of folks would really like to have, not that they asked me, but just lots of folks would like to have some social knitting time, and they just haven't found knitting places where they live that they can do that. So if I could facilitate for that for patrons, it would be amazing. And like that is one place I could actually like regularly do it. I could have a space set up that I can close the door, so if family's doing other stuff, it's not going to be chaotic or crazy. And then like also I could have like overhead shot set up. Oh, it's just, and then maybe we might have gone to the woolery and I might have been like, oh my gosh, I could actually have a loom. Okay, but that's like next level. But anyway, so all of this is to say that our basement is completely unfinished, and we do get water in our basement. Not like a lot of water, but we get water in our basement. And so we had somebody come out to do the like assessment of like what it would take and what they would do and all that stuff. And so now I'm like, okay, must work really hard so I can work hard in another room. So I'm like, I gotta get my sizzle together. That's all to say, there's shop updates coming. So in the shop right now, I have some sock bags. I have these super cute cozy pumpkins, right? With like some fall-y, like maybe that's a sunflower, and some like fun leaves and cute, like perhaps nutkins, little nutsies in there. And I have these beautiful bright pumpkins. Aren't they cute? So I have these guys in there. And then I have still left, I don't know how this is left. I love this fabric so much. I have this like flying geese large wedge. Great. And this big beautiful Aran sweater bag with like this kind of like, I don't know, I always think about it as like tiles when I look at it. Like, but it has like a quilt feel and a tile feel. And I love the colors. And it has, these two are denims, but it has sort of like a linen-ish kind of like fabric texture, like visual texture, excuse me, to it. And it's just, I don't know, I just really love it. And again, I love a gigantic print. Can't help it. Speaking of which, I currently also have in the shop for pre-order, were you just like sitting around one day and you were looking at your knitting bags, or maybe you were just looking at your throw pillows, and you were just saying to yourself, you know, I really need assorted feathered creatures wearing Tudor ball gowns in my life. Were you just saying that the other day? I psychically heard you. And this bag is currently in the shop for pre-order. It is a 4 to 6 week pre-order, simply because it's a custom printed fabric. But oh my goodness, y'all. So these are the only 4 girls. You get the goose, you get the peacock, you get the hummingbird, and you get this lovely songbird of some sort or another. I'm guessing. So it is a pre-order. It is only the giant bag. It is only the Aran sweater. It's a bag that I use for sweaters or for carrying multiple projects, or just yarn storage. If you have a lot of yarn hanging out and you're like, I don't know where I'm going to put all that, but I would love to have a Tudor ball gown throw pillow in my life. You can just fill this full of yarn and just let it sit on your couch all beauty style. Okay. So those are in the shop. And then October 15th, I will have another update. This is the remainder of the bags that came with me to Young's Dairy. So they have amazing wool gathering festival welcoming of fall energy attached to them. Right. And so I have this sort of like William Morris-esque print in the large wedge. I have, how good is that color combination? There's even a bird happening. And so gnomes that are knitting. Just the knitting gnomes are knitting. So this has mushrooms, it has gnomes, it has knitting, it has folksy flowers. It's basically got everything. Ever. And then I thought I had a sample to show you, but like I can't find it. So here is, I'll also have large wedge bags in this fabric, which is like, there is no right or wrong side. So, you know, like it'll look one of these ways, but it has this like protea print with like these amazing pods. And again, this like favorite new color of this blue that is goblin-y and delicious and wonderful, combined with some ochre and some fuchsia-y hot pinkies. Okay. Then in sweater size, Oh my gosh, this is actually totally topical. I have this bag, agates, geodes, whatever you want to know that they are, that's what they are. How fun are they? It's topical because I also went on a geology driving tour, which I'll tell you a little bit about in the shenanigans portion of today's episode. I have, this is a newer to me. This made, this first time I had this was at SSK. So it's not been offered at an update yet. This is a new to me library card print. So I was looking for a library card print that would not be primarily white background because of course my bags are made to be very heavy duty. And I would like them to be, you know, to not get dingy quite as easily as white sometimes does if you're an animal like I am. So this is an option for those folks who are concerned about having a lighter color bag. It's got a black background and all the all the library cards are colored. Now, it does not have as wide a variety of amazing book titles, but you know, you're going to know what it is. Okay. And I will say that the lovely Ann Budd thought of this. I did not. But she sometimes, with her library card bag, she doesn't have this print, she has the other print, which I will probably do some more of soon. She actually, when she goes to retreats and whatnot, has people like check out a bag, a library book on her bag. How smart is that? So you have like a little keepsake with your little project in it. Isn't that cute? Keepsake was like my tag word this weekend. I've had a crafting weekend with friends. And I could not stop talking about keepsakes. I think I may have said the word keepsake more in like the last 5 days than I've said it in my entire life. I don't know what's going on. I'm nesting. I'm not pregnant. I don't have a uterus. Okay, just settle down. I'm just like fall nesting and winter nesting. Okay, so then also, these are in no particular order. I have these amazing mermaids and unicorns. And again, this palette, so delicious. You've got this, again, this blue that I am loving. This, but combined with this like pop of very bright, clear, warm orange. And some goldfish, like little gold color fishes in there. And then you've got these great like scrummy greens. Oh my gosh, y'all. It's just ridiculous. And I would call this background color navy. Sometimes that's always hard to tell in photographs or, you know, various monitors, what have you. But I would definitely call that navy if that makes a particular difference to you. And then, again, the color returns. I have this amazing, right? It's not Charlie Harper. A lot of people think it might be Charlie Harper. It is not Charlie Harper. Oh no, this one gets to be a discount because it's got a little spot on it. But it's these beautiful birds, just this very mod, kind of simplistic, abstract bird print. And the yellow is A, such a good yellow. But B has a really lovely, like, what would I call that? Almost like a washed denim visual texture to it. So it's kind of like a little bit like, it's really gorgeous. And then back also to the large wedge had that kind of William Morrissey print. This, I have it in a sweater and an Aran sweater, but in a larger scale. So the large wedge size does have a smaller scale. It's the same print, it's just a smaller scale. But I also have that in sweater and large wedge. No, I mean sweater, large wedge, Aran sweater. I have all the sizes except soft. I have this nonsense. What is even happening? I don't know, but I'm here for it. And I have this beautiful wildflower, right? The happy little pollinators. Oh, this is just like right. And finally, I have Bazam, right? This amazing kind of mod, kind of wacky doodle rainbow. That was so much. It was bananas. But those are all going to be in the shop. Some of them are in there now. Some of our pre-orders. And some of them are going to be there October 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern. What's the name of this shop? It's fatsquirrelfibers.com. I often forget to tell you that. The links will always be below in the little hooply-doo down there. So yes. If you decide that you want, well, if you recognize that you need the Tudor bird bag in your life. If you order it with anything else, I will hold the whole order until it's ready. So if you want if you want your other bags first and you want separately, you just order them separately. I try to make my shipping as affordable as is humanly possible. And I know that the international shipping is bananas, but I promise you I actually lose money on it. It's that expensive. Right. And if it's ever more than like a $2 difference, I will refund you. Okay, so those are all asides. Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll talk, okay, I'm just gonna talk about knitting and then I'm gonna do shenanigans at the end. Right? I feel like I need to move. Okay, so I always do spinning first. Whatever, I'll do knitting first. I can do what I want, I'm an adult. So my finished objects are actually still a little damp, but you can't tell because you're not here. I finished I finished my Midas hat, and that is a pattern by Laura Reinbach, I'm assuming it's B-A-C-H. And this is in Another Crafty Girl. This is her strong sock. This, here it is in the, what I have left in the skein, right? And this is the vegetable garden colorway. So, Another Crafty Girl, bam. Strong sock, bam. Perfect ball hat. And I think this fabric is the fabric. I think the colors also would be very fun for kids. Like, I don't feel like it is like childish, but I think it could be very fun for clothes for little ones or hats for little ones, in addition to hats for grown-ups. Because it's just like got enough of a fun factor that like I don't feel conspicuous in it, but I think a kid would like really just dig these like brighter oranges and this like fun sort of like really bright springy kind of green. How cute is that? Love the Midas hat. It's one of my favorite hats to wear. It's a folded brim. So you can do a provisional cast on. I think it's a crochet cast on is what's suggested. Often what I do is do the, is it Judy's Magic Cast On? That's like where you cast onto 2 needles at once. I often do that and just use a pair of like spare 16-inch needles for the kind of like the stitches that are on hold, and just put like a cap on the ends or like a rubber band or whatever just to keep stitches from slipping off. They don't really tend to slip off because it's a small enough circumference, so they don't tend to like get stretched out that much, but just in case you're concerned or you're traveling with something. And then I just work on my live stitches until I am ready to do the brim. It's a great pattern. The brim, the inside brim is a certain percentage smaller than the outside brim, so that it stays on your head comfortably, but without the ribbing, which can sometimes irritate my skin a little bit. I know, right? Like, what a baby. But whatever is true. What else was I going to say? Oh, one of the other good things about the Judy's Magic Cast On, if you do it this way, for me personally, it is much easier to do when you join your brim, like when you join your folded brim, you use like a 3-needle join. And for me, either doing a 3-needle join or a 3-needle bind off, it's actually much easier for me to do if the stitches in the back are oriented like they're twisted, which is what Judy's Magic Cast On does. It does twist orientation on like the second, on one of the needles, the needle you would typically work on last. And I find it much easier to do a 3-needle bind off or a 3-needle join when those back stitches are twisted. It's just easier for your needle to go through them without, I don't know, I just enjoy it. So I am pro that, but that is something to be aware of if that does bother you. But I actually prefer it. Okay? Okay. And then I also finished, so I finished my cider press. The pattern is called cider press set because it comes with hat and mitts. But I just did the hat, and this is a pattern by Amy Christophers. It's from, I think I remember seeing it was 2011. So I made this hat when it originally came out, but it's a great hat, and sometimes I forget about older patterns. It is written for worsted, but I was given a skein of Tina's Twisted Fibers, her 75 superwash merino 25 nylon fingering weight in Cozy Autumn. So she was vending at the wool gathering as well, and they were so kind to give me a skein. So here's what it looks like in the skein. Here's what's left. I'm hoping I can get like a baby hat out of it because this is for a mama to be, and it would be fun if I could get like in fingering weight the same hat. Did I say that it's yeah, I said it's finger weight held double, right? And it's just a great slouchy hat. Again, my hat is actually wet, so it's not exactly sitting perfectly, but it's a great slouchy hat. It has the cast on that's like this, y'all. Tubular cast on. This is actually a pretty good description of it. It has a tubular cast on, which is very easy to do. I mean, she has very clear directions. I hate when patterns are like, do a tubular cast on. And I'm like, I do not do a tubular cast on often enough to know how to do it without looking it up. So I really enjoy that the patterns are, that the directions are actually included with the pattern. So yeah, and then it's just got like a fun texture for the hat itself. And it's really, yeah, it's super cute. I think it might be written as just a beanie and not a slouchy hat, but I kind of just make everything slouchy. Because especially if it's a gift, I figure, hey, they can just like flip the brim up if they don't want it slouchy. Okay, it's not going to be right because it's still wet, but like then they can have they can still have, okay, I did a very bad job, y'all. It's because it's wet. But they can still have a shorter hat if they want it. So that's why I'm a fan of doing the slouchy for a gift, especially. Right here. And then, I know, right? I finished 3 hats since we've talked. Kind of proud of myself. Then I finished my Hesti hat, Hesti, by Ella Gordon Designs. And it's a Fair Isle hat using Jamieson and Smith. I literally copied her color combination exactly because I did. And it is also not written as slouchy as I made it because I do what I want. How cute is it? How stinking cute is it? It's stinking cutest. So the pattern is written, I think, let's see, I think only for 2 of the orange bands, and I in fact have 4. Basically, if this hat does not look like it's a baby sweater until you start the decreases, I'm not interested. That's how I roll. But so yes, ugh. And let's see, what else did I do? I think I might have added a repeat or 2, like a width-wise maybe even, because I also like a big hat. Again, baby sweater. It needs to look like a baby sweater. Because I just like a big hat. But then I did I didn't full it, but I definitely gave it a very good, firm hot wash in, a new bar of Tuft Woolens. You get so excited when you get to open up a new bar of sock soap. So fun. I love it. This one is rosewood and patchouli. It's not strong at all. It's, in fact, I think I also didn't leave these soak very often for very long because I was kind of impatient. but it's very pleasant. So yes, what else was I going to say? Oh, so I did give it a very hot wash and kind of an aggressive wash. So because I just love color work when you can kind of get that yarn to really bloom out. This, of course, Jamieson & Smith is woolen spun yarn, and it's, you know, it's fair isle yarn. Like, it's specifically suited to doing stranded color work. And one of the things that makes it so suited is that A, it's a little sticky. So like if you're steeking something, or, you know, if you're me and you drop stitches or something, they kind of want to just hang out where they are. They don't want to drop down on you too quickly. But also it kind of like, again, grabs onto its neighbor stitch, and you get a nice, good, solid fabric, which is great if you're looking for something that's lightweight yet very insulative and warm, because you're getting good amounts of air that are trapped when that happens, but also you're getting something that's going to help block air movement more. Like this little hat, which again, I think is darling. It's not going to be that warm because it's the worsted weight yarns are not as warm. Excuse me. Worsted spun yarns are not quite as warm, which is a good thing for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't live where they want that warm of a thing. Or again, if you want to wear your hat inside and your home is more temperature controlled. And you know, they make stitches look lovely because they don't have that effect where they want to blend into their neighbors. But for color work, the woolen spun is just ideal because you get that good, that kind of softening effect, so that if you have errors, they don't quite show up as much. And I just like to not see space between my stitches when I'm doing color work as well. So there's that. Oh, and then this is a finished object in that I am not going to be making any more of them. So I bought some of that beautiful DK and worsted weight yarn at the Wool Gathering. And then I kind of had like we talked a little bit like maybe I would make one of them a sweater, and then I thought maybe I would make it a hap shawl because those are so lovely and warm. And I think it would be a very pretty color combination for a hap shawl. But then I started to get like really like worked up about like the amount of yarn I have in my life, and I got a little freaked out. And so I was like, and I was not sure, like, should I really make another shawl? Like, I clearly don't need another shawl. So I had like the whole thing, you know, you're probably familiar. And so I thought, maybe I'll make an Afghan, because I don't actually have any knitted blankets. I have one that's almost a blanket, but still not. I think I pulled it out 2 years ago, like, oh my gosh, I am almost done with this blanket. Why don't I just finish it? I'll just go and finish it. I think I knit like a square, y'all. I'm a mess. But anyway, so I was like, and I saw this pattern. It's called the Safe at Home. It's just called Safe at Home. And it's an Afghan, or it's a knitted blanket, but it's also available in Tunisian crochet. And it is stinking darling. Okay, like, this is just with some scrappy stuff I had. And also I thought, oh, I could use like some hand spun that is, you know, of varying widths and stuff that I'm not sure I can make a sweater with or whatever. And I thought, oh, it would be so fun to do a little blanket using up like bits and bobs, and, you know, if I have a skein of something here or there. Okay, but while it is so stinking cute, and like while I even think my square is very cute, I will not be making that. Like, the windows and the door is in Tarja, which is a pain. But, like, you know, it's very clear also what's happening. I think it even tells you that it's in Tarja before you buy it, if you are a person who looks for that. I think I did know, actually. Anyway, so now on the Tunisian one, it's still in Tarja, but it's a little bit differently constructed. I think the Tunisian one, you actually just completely construct it left to right, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I'm sorry. The Afghan crochet / hybrid crochet. Tunisian crochet is a term I want to work on not using anymore, because it's one of those where it doesn't have actually anything to do with the origins of the fabric. It just sounded interesting, and so we named it that, like, in a long time ago. But anyway, so the hybrid crochet one, I think, really does work from this like one side to the other in its entirety. But the knitted one is knitted in kind of like little modules, and like it's not, this is actually not how you would knit it. I just wanted to do a sample. Like it's actually knit, like you knit the houses all the way across, and then you knit each roof / sky section separately, and then I just join the roof skies. So for me, like one of the reasons I was interested in it. Oh my gosh, I just finished watching The Great Pottery Throwdown, by the way. It's totally worth getting HBO just to watch that. I'm going to admit, I'm not really mature enough to watch any of the insane, like I read Game of Thrones, highly enjoyed it. I think I watched the first 2 seasons. I just can't really commit to any more. There's enough darkness in my life. I'm not interested in having more. But it is actually, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, just like get it for a month and just watch all the pottery throwdowns. They're good for your soul. Where was this even going? Oh, but one of their challenges, they love to do like a bathroom challenge where they have to create something that's a bathroom item. But Brits, what is going on? Why do you say urinals? Instead of, we say urinals in the US because we say urine. But y'all say urinals? I am really behind most of your pronunciations, but I'm going to have to say no to that one. Like you care. Again, another situation where I think maybe I've said urinal like half a dozen times in my life. How many times have I said urinal? More than that. And all of them within the last few weeks. Anyway, I don't know where that came from. Let's not even try to figure out where that came from. But, so one of the reasons I thought it would be good to do a blanket is that it could be scrappy and I could just like work on one square at a time. So the idea of needing to like plan out, because you would have to, I guess you wouldn't have to plan. You could totally do like a D20 dice and or a random number generator and just go as it went. But I don't know that I would want to do that. So for me, I wouldn't want to like plan out like, oh, I'm going to do this color house, and then I'm going to do this color house, and then I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to do this hat, this roof, and this. Like, you know what I mean? I would kind of just want to be able to do like one chunk at a time. Because again, then you can like place them wherever you want them. You don't have to like have a, like kind of a grand idea of what it's going to look like when you're all done. But that said, my next idea is that I love this very much. The look of it. And so now I'm like, maybe I need to do some rug hooking with it and do like some little cute house motifs. I really love a house motif. Some cute house motifs, some like fun quilt square motifs with like the Oxford punch needle and some rugging. Or maybe I'll just make it a wall hanging. I don't know. That's insulative. That'll be good for wall hangings. So those are things I finished. And then the only other knitting I worked on is my Stephen West shawl. Oh my gosh, are you doing the Stephen West mystery? I'm not doing it, but it looks super fun. I hope that looked weird. I just caught a look of myself and I looked very strange. Like, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see the spoilers. I know there's something about the mystery knit-alongs. I feel like even if you don't participate, like even if you just like look at all the spoilers, it feels like you're involved. But it looks super fun. And but that I'm working on Stephen West shawl. It's Esjan, I guess. It's Esjan. I know I just looked at that pronunciation like 38 times ago. Last time we talked, I'm making mine with Spun Right Round, both in her, this is her mill spun, and then this is her hand dye. I thought I was smart and wrote down the colors, but apparently not smart. So this is kind of what the shawl looks like. So there's writing on there. I think that was like literally the last time I did show notes and was trying to figure out what timestamps were. So last time we talked, I had put in a green for the mohair section. This is a shawl that's written in various forms. This one is the striped esjun, which has a mohair component in that like open border. But there's also like some that are just it's just like DK, I want to say. I can't remember. But I did switch out the green to the crazy bright blue. And actually I'm quite pleased with it. So of course it's on a needle, you can't see it all, but how banana pants crazy fun is that? That being said, I will not be knitting with mohair silk anytime soon by itself. I quite enjoy knitting with it held with another strand of yarn, whether it's fingering or whatever. Do not like knitting with it by itself. It's very hard for me to read my knitting. So like I was knitting with friends and I literally had a stitch marker for each. I had a stitch marker for each repeat of the pattern. Now, the gartery part is literally just garter and stripes, right? There's like some increased rows every once in a while. You can kind of see there. There's like a little bit of eyeletting happening. But it's just, but the mohair section, of course, you're getting these big open spaces, right? So there is a lot more going on in those rows, and I had to put stitch markers like every whatever number of stitches, this many stitches, and it looked insane because I literally just could not read my knitting very easily. I mean, I could, but I had to really look at it, and it's not how I wanted to spend my knitting time. So I will not be knitting with mohair by itself anytime soon. Also, of course, you get these big giant things by doing a bunch of yarn overs and then knitting into them. So like, 3, 4, 5, whatever number of yarn overs. And then when the next row, you could like knit purl into each yarn over. That's a known technique. I'm not giving it away. But I know this about myself, but I forget all the time. I am not a great knitter for that technique. If you're a knitter that needs to go down multiple needle sizes, that technique is a pain for you. I think especially. Because the loops, maybe it doesn't have anything to do with it. I don't know. Whatever. It's a pain. And so I had originally started knitting the lace. I had the shawl itself knit on Knitter's Pride, their wooden needles, which I really do enjoy quite a bit. But the join is not smooth enough to do those multiple yarn overs. I almost had a full hissy. I almost had a total fit. I should have known better. I don't know what I was thinking. But the first time I started to knit off those multiple yarn overs, that next row, I almost was like, well, this is garbage now. Because not only could I not I couldn't even get the needle out if I wanted to frog it. Like, it was just, like, it was on here forever and ever. Unless I, clipped my needle cord or whatever. I was very angry. I wasn't angry. I was just, at my wit's end about how annoying it was. But luckily, I kind of got the rhythm of, okay, I need to do this exact motion to, move it. Because what happens is, say you have these yarn overs, right? If when you're sliding your knitting back and forth, if this loop, gets somehow, scrunched under the other ones, it causes chaos when you're trying to knit off of it. Because it won't go over that join. It pulls it too tight. You can't figure out what is going on. Finally, I figured out what was going on. And I was able to, mitigate the issues. But it was kind of dicey there for a minute. It was actually really dicey. But now I'm done with the mohair and I just have to do 4 more rows. But I think it's pretty cute. And I actually don't dislike the yarn nearly as much with the beautiful other colors as I do by itself. So yay. So next time I'll have that one done. And I just did the small size. There are 2 sizes. But this, and I only needed 1 skein of the mohair silk. I have this much left over. What was I going to say? Oh, but I was afraid I didn't have enough of the main colors of yarn. But if you wanted to do a large one, you could just like throw a third color in there. It would be no big deal to do that. And that would be a lovely, great time for everybody. Is the pattern still in there? Or did I lose it? Oh, it's in there somewhere. Whew. Okay, and then so that's all my knitting. I did start a sweater, but I started it and then was like, it's not very often that I have a sweater pattern that I'm just like, what's going on with this pattern? So I started it and then was like, and I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And then I was like, I don't like doing this. So I changed it. And now that I've sat on it for probably a week or so, I'm like, maybe I should go back and do it the way that the designer suggests. So I've been waffling on it. But I've worked on other stuff too, but to no avail, basically. Okay, so then spinning. Yes. Okay, so I purchased, this is Cormo BFL Bamboo Silk. I purchased this from the fiber event in Greencastle. The Cormo ladies there always have beautiful stuff, and I bought 8 ounces of this guy. And I had also purchased at SSK 8 ounces of hip strings, the Plague Bear. And this is Falkland top. And at SSK, I took Jillian Marino's class, I don't know what the class was called, y'all, but it was all about different ways to combine color using braids, like not using drum carders, not using hand carders, not using a blending board, but to actually use your different braids of fiber together and like different combination techniques and things like that. Great class. Basically any class with her is, you're going to be happy. I can't recommend her enough. And also, she's stinking adorable. Like, the adorablest. Just thinking about how adorable she is right now. I'm just like, so anyway, and also looking at like all the like 8 ounce bumps of things, and I'm like, oh. You know, like I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. So I was like, oh, a pound of something. I can maybe make like a sweater vest or something. So I decided that I would combine these two. Now, is this how she recommends to do it? Not at all. I'm just doing it anyway. Because this is, you know, this is technically, no, this is actually roving. I'm like, this is technically top. No, it's not. It's roving. This is roving. This is top. They're different things. They have different staple lengths. It's all different. So it's not giving me the same like amazing barber pulling within the single that Jillian's class is all about, but it's still combining them in some way. That's what I'm going for. So I have this bobbin spun. I have another bobbin spun on. I still have lots and lots and lots left to do. But basically what I did is I'm just telling you how I made my little combination, my little nests, because I made a bunch of nests. I never do prep work for fiber. I am like a straight straight from the braid kind of gal, usually. You know, I might split it like 2-3 times or something like that, but I don't ever make like little cute little doodles. But since I'm trying to combine these, and since they are such different things, I was just worried about like getting, you know, halfway done and then being completely out of one fiber and not the other. So I decided to break them into pieces that are about this long and like about fingering-ish or so strips of the fibers, and then I just put them together into like a little dude, and then I'm spinning those. And also it's very fun. I have like a giant grocery bag full of just like little baubles, which is fun. But anyway, so there's that. And then that is most of my crafting. I've not, we talked all about the stitcheries last week. I've not done anything on them. I was so inspired for a hot second. That's how it works. I tell you all, ADHD brain. She's got a lot of positives. She's got a lot of negatives. Okay. So then let's just talk about shenanigans. Okay. Shenanigans. And we'll just like close it out. If you're not interested, that's totally okay. We'll talk next time. Never a test. Never a test. I've done so much since we talked. I don't even know what I've done. Things have been very apple heavy in my life. We did, as a family, we did 56, I think. 56 pints of our applesauce for the winter. And also for some gifting, because I might have also found another box of applesauce I didn't realize I had. So don't worry, the gifting will be the new stuff. It won't be, we'll eat those, so it's fine. It's totally fine, y'all. I'm eating green beans in the crock pot right now. They're from 2019. Just check your stuff and it'll be fine. I will say jam gets a little unhappy after a while, depending on how sweet and or how acidic it is. But it doesn't get bad. It just gets like less good. Do you know what I mean? Like green beans don't seem to change the flavor. The applesauce really doesn't seem to change flavor, but the jam gets like less vibrant as it sits. But anyway, I also did a bunch of apples. What else? I did something else appley. Oh. On Instagram, a friend recommended this book. It is called Apples and the Art of Detection. It's by John Bunker, and it's a self-published one. I'm sure it is. It has to be, right? You can get it on Amazon. It's like really expensive, but you can just, if you Google it, you'll get to their orchard. Does it tell me what their orchard was? I mean, I'm sure it does somewhere. Oh my gosh, I just noticed that it's autographed. So you definitely need to buy it directly from them. There's definitely also an illustration of an apple. Dang. I will say that I'm not entirely sure that all the art in this book has been used with correct copywriting, but I don't know. I'm not the police. It's self-published, and they're Apple people. So yeah, I'm just gonna throw it out there. If that's something that really bothers you, maybe just say. I'm sorry. I was still trying to see if I could. Outonalimapples.com. Outonalimapples.com is where you can get it. And I was like thinking it was gonna be like 100 pages. It's a hefty tome. It's like 400 and something pages. It has a good index. I have not gotten a chance to really like deeply go through it yet, but just for flipping's sake, take that either way. But just for the sake of like even just flipping through it, it's highly enjoyable. Highly enjoyable. Just to look at pictures of like people really excited about their apple trees, people on their tractors. Just pictures of like, and this is Maine apples. So there's lots of different like people. Oh my gosh, this man. Ross Hannon dousing our well with a willow stick. So these are Maine apples. This is a Maine enterprise. Okay, I'm sorry. There's also in Washington, I want to say, but at least Pacific Northwest, I'm pretty sure it's Washington. There's like the Lost Apple Project. So there are lots of people all over doing amazing research into either heirloom apples that are still out there, but are not like, they're just like on a person's property. And so they're not being commercially sold, or whether they're on abandoned properties. Like I know specifically it's called the Lost Apple Project, right? They specifically have volunteers go out and comb like public lands, like the national forest and things like that, for old apple orchards that would have been on homesteads. And so that's right. They do like the identification, they do mapping, they do all this stuff. It's amazing. So it's really great. It's exciting. And a lot of those apples are not necessarily eating apples. They're probably cider apples. Because again, apples reproduce sexually, so their offspring are not the same as they are. But which is apparently also how dahlias grow. Did we talk about this already? I'm sorry if we did. We probably did. I think we did. But isn't that fascinating? Anyway, Um, so yeah, I'm just excited that people are in the world doing these things. Gives me some joy and some hope. But yeah, I wish you could come over. Maybe we'll do it on Patreon. Maybe we'll go through it. I mean, I can't flip through the whole thing because it's like 400 pages, but maybe I will do some like sticky notes and we'll do a little chat on the Patreon about it. Patrons. Oh my gosh, okay, I gotta stop looking at it. Every time I look at it, I get really excited. But how exciting is that? Let's see what else. Let's see. Oh, what else is Apple? Oh, so I had crafting weekend last weekend. Highly recommend it if you can get some crafting books together to have a crafting weekend. I intended to bring, okay, I did in fact bring like a million different things to sew. Because one of the only downfall of like having a sewing business is that while everything's out to do the sewing, which is amazing, because usually that's the block, right, of like doing a sewing project, is that like you gotta get out the cutting stuff and you gotta get out the machine and you gotta get out the thing. So I am lucky in that those things are always very easily accessible to me. But then it's the combined thing of like, oh, I should be, like if I'm doing sewing, it's like, oh, I should be business sewing. And I don't always do that at all. But when it's really busy, especially, I'm like, oh no, it has to be business sewing. So anyway, so I had this intention of like doing, I did stitch one thing, but it was a bra that was just too loose. It was a ready-to-wear bra that was driving me crazy, and so I stitched up the sides a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. That's something I stitched all the way through. Well, sewing-wise. I did finish a hat and like worked more on my shawl, and I did a bunch of spinning, which was really good. Spinning is a great thing to do when you're with people. Because again, it's like something that keeps you occupied, but I don't know, I really do enjoy spinning in a social situation. What was I saying? Oh, but one of the things we did, we went to the Woolery, I've never been to the Woolery. The Woolery is in Frankfort, Kentucky, which is only probably 2-ish hours from me, but they have limited hours and like really there's no reason I'm ever in Frankfort, Kentucky. And like the combination of like me being in Frankfort, Kentucky, and them who, and the Woolery being open has just never happened before. So I've just never made it in. But we went together. It was lovely. And basically I get an award because I didn't buy a loom, or like not even a flip loom, or like a shocked or an Ashford tape, like a rigid heddle. That's what I'm going for. I didn't even buy a rigid heddle loom. Just saying. Basically a saint. I did buy a few books. I did not buy yarn, and I did not buy a loom, so I get a free basement. I'm pretty sure how that works. But so it was super pleasant. They have a lovely, like, I was actually kind of afraid, I'm not afraid, but I was a little bit concerned that it would be overwhelming, like it would be like too, but it wasn't. It was very, things were like combined in a nice way where like, you know, you could easily get what you wanted, but it wasn't just like, you know, it wasn't like totally overly stimulating. I did decide I need a matchless wheel. So if anybody has a used one for sale, let me know. I'm gonna have a basement. I'll have room for one. I'm out of control, y'all. Anyway, this basement's so expensive. It's so expensive to get the basement, and then I'm gonna be like, yes, I clearly need a loom. No, I don't. Like, I'm never gonna actually drywall this basement, because as soon as it's like even remotely available for me to use, I'm gonna be in there, and then I'll just be like, well, I mean, drywall, that's like the price of a loom. I don't think I need that. Even though in my head, one of the reasons I'm feeling like I can justify this is that, like, you know, if we do resell our house one day, which was never going to happen because houses are too expensive now, then it'll be like good added value. Oh my gosh, every time I want to move, Zillow just crushes my dreams. How do y'all afford to live anywhere? I don't even know. It's crazy. Anyway. The Woolery. It was lovely. It was very enjoyable. I need a matchless wheel. I need a floor loom. Not a giant one. Just a very modest one. Very reasonable one. What else do I need? Okay, those were really the things I needed. But I will say, man, their book selection is awesome. And that was a really, like, a surprising delight to me. They have an amazing book selection. I didn't even look at the knitting books because, like, I feel like that I am pretty solid on. But if you do need a weaving book, or you want like a dyeing book, or like, they had a huge selection. They had a lot of self-published books, which makes my heart so happy. Yeah, so definitely worth it if you're going to be in the Kentucky. Okay, Western Kentucky is still pretty far away from there, but you know, if you're going to be in the neighborhood, stop by. But we also went to a new to me orchard. It was called Huber's Orchard. It is just northwest of Louisville, Kentucky. And it's like an orchard, it's a winery, it's a distillery, apparently. I don't know anything about the winery distillery parts because, like, it was the first, like, really cool weekend in October. So as you can imagine, or the first really cool weekend of the fall. And it was kind of a madhouse. Okay, it wasn't. It was a madhouse. It was crazy. The place is enormous. So luckily, they had amazing people on parking. They had great, and they were very well staffed. Like, they had a ton of staff. So, like, kudos to them and their workers. But it was still a lot of people, and so we went for apple picking. I didn't even realize they had U-Pick for some reason. I was thinking they didn't, because lots of our orchards don't do U-Pick. Humans are pretty destructive when they do U-Pick, not intentionally. But, you know, there's a reason that U-Pick apples are the same price as the apples that the orchard picks themselves, because the amount of destruction that we do to their trees, I'm sure, is equivalent to the price of them having them picked. But, oh, so I just didn't realize they had U-Pick, but they did, and you get to just ride a tractor. You get to ride in a wagon out there, but it's also not just like a hay wagon. So there's actually benches in the wagon. I really appreciate that. Not only do I appreciate it because it's like easier to get in and out of, but you don't have to like sit very close to random other human beings. You just get to sit very close to the human beings that you love, that you went with. So you could just ride the tractor out. They had pumpkins too, and the pumpkin U-Pick line, or the pumpkin line, was bananas. I can't believe it. Like, we saw the pumpkin line, and I was like, oh, this is a nightmare. And then it was like, oh no, the apple line is a different line. We got to go right to the front of the apple line. There was nobody waiting for apples. So we got to go apple picking, and even better, what did they have? They have Golden Delicious, they had Fuji, they had wine saps. I don't know if they were Turley's or what's the other wine sap. Anyway, they just said wine saps, I think. And something else, but they also had Pink Ladies and Gold Rush. I've never seen either of those available for U-Pick. I mean, I know there are, but not where I've been able to get to them. And also, our Gold Rush apples are at the expensive orchard, and they are expensive. I mean, they're like at least twice as expensive. But this place had great prices. I always feel bad when I say that, like I'm reinforcing people underpricing them. I don't mean that. I do want you to price your things correctly, and so that you have a good living wage. So please don't misunderstand what I'm like. They have good value. I don't want everybody to decrease their prices in such that they cannot have a, you know what I'm saying. But they're priced more like my Anderson orchard. And so I had every intention of just getting a few apples and ended up buying like another 35 pounds probably. But they're Gold Rush. Gold Rush is one of my, okay, I'm just going to say it. Gold Rush is my favorite apple at this moment. They are, in Indiana, they're an October apple. They are a storing apple. If you can store them, look up how to store apples. Every year I'm like, I'm getting an apple refrigerator. I have yet to get one, but it's out there. Just saying. You just want to keep them cool usually, and you want to keep them, you want them to be protected from moisture loss, but you don't want them in a place where they're not going to get any air exchange, because you know what I mean? Like it's like that magic, like that Goldilocks place. And it won't hurt them if they lose, if they have evaporative loss, but it'll just make them kind of like softer, and it'll make the skins a little wrinklier, but they'll still be fine. My grandparents' Golden Delicious would always they just always kept them in the orchard bag in the basement, or in the like basement hallway, whatever. And then, you know, by December they were looking a little wrinkly, but they were still fine. In fact, sometimes it makes them more delicious. It kind of concentrates their sugars a little bit. But anyway, so Gold Rush are a great storing apple. Oh, look at that blush on that, dude. Look at that. This girl doesn't have very much russeting, but lots of times they do have a good amount of russeting. They have a flavor, I think, that gets better as it is stored to a certain point. By April, I think they're starting to get a little bit, like, I think like that's the line for me. By April, when I get them from the fancy orchard, and they've had them in like real apple storage, like scientific or storage, I'm sure. The April to May apples are like, okay, we're not, like, we have started to go down the curve. But really up and through like March, I think they're still good. I would say maybe like December to March is the best time. I'm just making that up. Sorry. I'm just going to own that I made that up. But they do get better as they sit. Their flavors get a little bit more complex and interesting. But they're a really great apple. They are kind of like, sort of like a Granny Smith, and they're very firm. They're not quite as, I don't think they're quite as firm as Granny Smith. And they do have a lot of tartness to them, but they also have a lot of sugar in them. So it's just, I don't know, they're just a great apple. Now, people ask if I cook. I've never cooked with them, I don't think. If I have, it's just been like once, because they're so precious that I just like to eat them raw. But I imagine they would be good cooking apple, because again, they have a texture like a Granny Smith, so they would probably hold up well. I just haven't cooked with them because they're, again, as I said, they were only at the really expensive orchard. Those are not cooking apples. Those are eating apples. So that was amazing. What else have I done? I did. Bettina and I also just took a one of our state parks, Monroe Lake, which is near Bloomington, Indiana, which is about an hour south of us. They did a driving geology tour. So one of their naturalists, of course, usually they're generalists, but she also, her father was a geologist, and her concentration was in geology, or maybe I don't know, whatever. She's into geology too. And so we took that, and it was such a good tour. It's hard sometimes when you're taking classes. I wouldn't say this is necessarily geared towards family. I think there was probably an age, like a minimum age listed, because it definitely was not for children. If nothing else, like, you're visiting lots of road cuts along the highway and stuff, so it probably would have, you know, you don't want somebody that's going to not have predictable behavior. Plenty of adults like that too, but you know what I mean. And it was also the level of material was really surprisingly like high, like the academic, like almost like academic. No wonder you couldn't just understand it, Beth. Can't even say academic. But anyway, like some of it was like, I would not say it was above my head in terms of like the concepts or anything like that, but I think there was sometimes an assumption that you would know like the different kind of like periods that she was referring to, which I don't have a strong understanding of, like the Devonian versus the Precambrian, or I'm just making up words. I don't even know. Just saying. But that was actually such a delight, because so many times when you take classes that are, I don't know, sometimes they're just really like dumbed down. Like maybe the class is supposed to be able, like maybe the person teaches it for children and for adults or something, and like they just haven't quite made that crossover. I don't know. But this one was really good and rigorous. So there were like, it was from 8 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon. There was a lunch, so you got to bring a you got to bring a bagged lunch. Some of the places were on, like the places were on different like parcels of land. So some places you couldn't collect at, but some places you could. So there was like a nice combination of things. There was like, and she did it like sequentially, like so you were kind of building on the different like groupings of rock and things like that. So that was super fun. It was highly enjoyable. We got to see a bajillion geodes. A bajillion. If you don't know, the southern Indiana is really known for geodes. Most of them are quartz. Like they're just. I did bring some to show you. Did I not make? I thought I was podcasting in the other room, and I think I've left them in there. Oh, I'm so lame. But they're pretty. They're not like, you know, spectacularly amazing geodes. Most of them, but they are because they're geodes. Hi. But most of them are just clear quartz in the interiors. Lots of times they're stained with rust or what have you, or with iron, if they've had cracks in them or something like that as they've weathered down. But like one of the road beds, or one of the places we went was a stream bed, and like you could see from, there was a bridge over the stream, you could see from the bridge, just like, because geodes are very distinctive looking, they're usually pretty round. They were just like solid, like they had just, because they erode really easily. They are in our area, they're in very like soft rock, not limestone. I mean, I guess there are some in limestone, but not really limestone, but other kind of like composite rocks that are easily weathered and eroded away. So they're just like the like kind of like sandbars in the river are like just geodes almost, and like a little bit of gravel. They're solid. Like you could probably fill a 5-gallon bucket. You could fill a 5-gallon bucket as quickly as you could just put things in a bucket. Like that's how many there are. It's crazy. And it's super fun. So there was that. It was just fun. And then like lots of the road cuts we looked at, you know, like you could see the geodes in the road cut, which is super fun. It was very enjoyable. I was trying to think of something else that I should share with you. But yeah, if your state has, so even if you don't have a class, if your state has, there's a series of books called Roadside Geology, and I don't know that there is one for every state, or maybe there is one, but they're not all in publication still, or in print still. But Roadside Geology of Blanc is an excellent resource because it just tells you all the different road cuts and like what you can see in them. I highly recommend them. Indiana also has a book called, I think it's called Indiana Rocks, which is another great book about Indiana's geology. But one of the things we learned about, which I did not know anything about, have I been living under a rock? Apparently not, because I would probably know this if I had been. But, so there is geocaching, right? But there's also this thing called earth caching. So you can find information at earthcacheacademy.org. It's from the Geological Society of America. And basically it's like geocaching, but with like different geological formations or like spots of interest or whatever. And instead of like leaving stuff, I think the way you like prove you were there is like to learn a fact or something, or like learn something about the area. I mean, maybe I should wait to tell you about it until I actually know about it, but whatever. It sounds interesting. If you're interested, go find out more about it, and we'll find out about it together. But so yes, isn't that cool? It's like a more, you know, sort of like earth-friendly, knowledge-based geocaching, which I'm so excited about. So, eek! And also we got these really cute bookmarks that have all of the different like exposed rock layers in our state. It's so cute. Okay, Cambrian was one. Okay, I wasn't wrong. Oh my goodness. But so yes, it was so cool. What else? I think is that all? Oh my gosh, that's it. Yeah, okay. I think that's it. Here's a secret if you've stayed with me this long. I'm about to go get a tattoo this afternoon. I'm so excited. I haven't had a tattoo, well, in a very long time. I haven't had a new tattoo since before my child was born. I had one filled after my child was born, but I haven't had a new tattoo since before then. And that child is almost 16 years old. I'm pretty excited. And it's very woo. So yeah, so I'm doing that today. I have a million other things to do. They may not get done. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's good. Okay. That's all for today. And yeah, I'll talk to you next time. Oh, I was going to talk to you a little bit about sewing today, but A, we had too much other stuff to talk about. But B, also I wore all my clothes this weekend. So they were in the washer machine. So we'll talk about some new sewing things I've done. And maybe I'll even get some other sewing things done. I tried on somebody's Banksia bra. Is it a, I can't remember if it's called a bra or a bralette, but whatever. I think I would call it a bra. Because a bralette is like, whatever. But it's a Moonette and Broad pattern, and it has boob slings in it. It uses power mesh to create like additional support for your breast tissue to like, because like the problem with like a lot of non-underwear bras or like non-molded cups is, for me, is that they push my boobs together, and then I don't, like, that does not feel comfortable to me. Like, it gets hot and like also like weird, because then they just like, the uniboob, it's just not fun. It's not fun for me. And like I wore an underwear for the I'm gonna just go ahead and admit this to you. I wore underwear for the first time in a long time a couple weeks ago, and like that became like, that was like wildly uncomfortable. I think it also just was like fitting weird, because like it kept pushing my boobs like underneath my arms, which was very weird. But anyway, so I bought I bought this pattern, I know, when they put it out, which has been years ago now. But for some reason, I just let the construction like intimidate me, even though I should know better, because their patterns are always so well written. Like, they are just, and they're well designed. And I had forgotten, maybe I didn't know, I don't know, but this bra even has a narrow shoulder option. That's my problem all the time, is that like my shoulders are too narrow for the bras. They're not too narrow, they're just fine. But my problem is always that the bras are too wide for my shoulders. And so I'm so excited there's a narrow shoulder option. So I have all the materials. I just, for some reason, I like I didn't understand conceptually what I was going to be doing. And let me just discuss without reading the pattern, because I'm sure if I read the pattern, I would know. But I just let it like intimidate me. So, but anyways, tried some of these on, and I'm very excited about making some of those. So I'm hoping that even though I didn't do any sewing over the weekend, that it will be inspired to do some more sewing at my house. After I bring in all the stuff I took with me to do sewing there, because it's still in my car. So anyway, yeah, I hope you have a week. I hope if it's not good that it gets better. And yeah, I'll talk to you next time.